I remember 4 years ago when the anime for part 5 ended, and the hype for Jojo was so high that it felt like everywhere you looked you couldn't help but feel like you were being haunted by it. But I also remember that after how gorgeous the story for part 5 was, I couldn't just wait for the next part, that part being Jojo part 6, Stone Ocean. And if you didn't know, I love part 6 a lot. I even recently made a whole video that sums up everything I love about it, which you can check out if you're interested. But after part 6 came Araki's best work in a brand new universe, steelballrun. Steelballrun is not only my favorite part in the Jojo saga, but my favorite story ever, only coming second to Berserk. And the reason for that is that steelballrun is a story about realizing just how much of a shitty person you are, about making mistakes and learning these steps to take to ultimately correct those mistakes, while going on a huge journey with an Italian whose only weapon is his rock hard steel balls. Another chapter consisting of a guy who's an assassin who can turn back time 6 seconds, while also being one of the most badass characters ever. Or a chapter where dinosaurs run rampant in the 1800s, all while the president is hunting down the corpse of Jesus Christ. And yes, I am not joking. Jesus Christ is the main thing that drives this whole entire story forward. The story itself starts in the year 1890 in the barren lands of Western America, where nothing but desert exists and the lines between tribal practices and lawless characters are one and the same. However, that is not the only thing that appears in this desert. Deep somewhere, deep in the mountains, a phenomenon has occurred. The very walls of the mountains themselves have created spherical carvings. Or did they? As of right now, we don't know who or what created them, just as the characters in the panel were left in wonder and confusion. We then head over to the coast of San Diego, where the biggest event in American history is about to come to fruition, the Steel Ball Run race. Okay, but before we get into any of that, here's a little history before actually getting into the Steel Ball Run. And I'm only bringing it up because aside from the story itself, there's a lot of cool stuff that went into making this part so awesome. So starting off with the man himself, Hirohiko Araki. I swear, while doing my research for this man, everything I read kept telling me he's gotta be from another planet. Because this man literally went on a hiking trip for 5 days, all for his manga and because he wanted to know what would happen if he walked 20 kilometers every single day. He also mentions that at some point an old lady appeared from the darkness of the forest and told him some weird cryptic stuff. Even he was confused about it. However, what's so interesting about this adventure is what Araki took away from it. He talks about how for the first 3 days you just want to throw everything away just because of how heavy the equipment itself is and how tired your body gets. Araki even debating whether to throw away the cell phone he was given just in case a bear attacked him, and just reading that is crazy. Oh wait, I'm talking about the guy who wrote this shit. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Araki then ends his experience by mentioning that when he arrived at the end of the road, he sees a shrine in which at that moment he feels like he's been cleansed, and from the bottom of his heart he felt thankful for the hardships he went through during his little experience. Almost as if he's been killed and reborn with new life flowing through his entire body. And this is something that can be seen with Steel Ball Run's Jojo, Johnny Joestar. Johnny Joestar is probably on the top when it comes to any of the Jojos being actual assholes. His ego, for one, is insanely high, and because of his fame or whatever, he feels like he can do whatever he wants. And that's actually saying something, because aside from Jonathan, everyone else is a literal criminal, meaning none of them should be someone you should like. But Araki has always found a way to make them likable the moment he introduces a brand new Jojo. Joseph is funny and clever and comes off as a badass when saving Smokey from the police in part 2, introducing stands with Jotaro, which quickly makes you fascinated as to who and what he is. Josuke at the beginning of part 4 with his serious anger issues but also goofy demeanor. Giorno being the literal son of Dio and the cleverness that you would expect from a Joestar. And the same can be said with Jolene being the daughter of a previous Jojo, and with her just being a female alone making her fascinating, since we've only gotten male Jojos up to that point. point. But when Johnny is introduced, he doesn't feel like a main character, and I want to clarify, this is just when we first meet him. He isn't clever like the other Jojos, he's really annoying, he doesn't have a strong imposing figure, nor does he have any special ability that makes him interesting off the get-go. The only things we know about him are that he was a professional horse jockey who loved not only the sport itself, but just the simple act of riding a horse gave him a sense of fulfillment. Johnny even saying how people are drawn to beautiful things, and to Johnny, horses are those things and the ability to ride one. But there is one thing that makes him stand out from the other Joestars, and we notice it instantly that Johnny isn't able to walk, and despite of that, he still wants to join the steelballrun race, a race in which contestants have to race across the entire United States starting from San Diego all the way to New York, with a total distance of 6,000 kilometers, and to the person who wins, they'll earn a grand prize of $50 million that would be deposited to both East and West bank accounts. And to anyone who wants to join would have to be 16 years of age or older and pay a fee of $1,200. The race itself being organized by the one and only Mr. Steel, hence the name, the Steelballrun Race. However, that's not the reason that Johnny wants to join the race. But before I start talking about his reason for joining the race, I want to get into the choices Johnny has made and how they brought him into the circumstances he is now. And to start, we have to go back to when he was just a boy.
Let me tell you something about myself. Me, Johnny, born Jonathan Joestar. I was born and raised in Danville, Kentucky. The Joestar family used to be aristocrats before they fell into ruin, but my father was wealthy. He was the owner of several farms, and was a 7-time winner of the Triple Crown, a top-notch horse race. Because of my father's work, there was a time in my childhood when I spent several years in England.
Jonathan, what are you doing under the table? Raise your left hand. Listen, Jonathan. Not limited to dining, manners are an indication of reverence towards the people around you. Englishmen especially value table manners. Do you want everybody to think that we are a group of uneducated, uncultured American countrymen? What are you hiding in your pocket? Show me!
I'm sorry, Father. I was just... He was so cute and I couldn't...
I didn't tell you to apologize, Jonathan. I told you to show me. Dinner is over. Jonathan, go to your room immediately. But first, you must drown that thing in the lake, understood?
But, you said I could keep him. You promised.
Don't change the subject! You are the one who broke our promise. I said that you could keep it. Granted that you keep it in a cage. Are you calling me a liar? You must dispose of it yourself. Do you understand, Jonathan? Go.
I had a brother, 5 years my older, named Nicholas.
What are you going to do, Johnny? Are you going to drown it?
It's all my fault. But I can't. I can't drown Danny. I can't do it.
But we can't keep that mouse in our place anymore, Johnny. Listen, I have an idea. How about we let Danny go into the woods? You can do that, right? I'm sure Danny will be fine in his own in the woods.
I can't. Dad will definitely tell me to give him proof that I drowned Danny. He'll definitely ask me to see his corpse.
That's easy enough. You know how they have those stuffed mice in our school science rooms? Well, they have birds and even foxes, too. Tomorrow I'll ask my teacher to let me borrow one for a white mouse. If you show that to Dad, I'm sure he'll believe it's Danny. I can't believe that he'd open it up to see if you'd actually drowned it or not. Actually, he'd do something like that, wouldn't he? He'd flip out if he cut it open and all the stuffing came right out!
Nicholas, thanks. You're so smart, big bro. The teacher will definitely give you the mouse too, because you're such a good student.
But Johnny, can you really let Danny go?
Yeah. Wow, Nicholas. He's amazing. If I tell him to run 200 meters in 17 seconds, he'll do it in exactly 17 seconds. I told him to do the next 200 meters in 23 seconds, and then 19 seconds, but he always gets it exactly. He's never even 0.000000001 of a second late. How does he do that? It's so cool. Do you think I could do it too?
Well, it all depends on your determination and hard work. But that Nicholas is a special case. He's always had that expert sense of time. He was born with it. Your father doesn't have that ability, so that's why he chose to become a trainer instead.
Who's that?
Oh, big horse, huh? Its name is Black Rose. It's a bit sensitive, but your brother's gonna ride it on the next tournament. He'll definitely win, for sure.
No, I mean the kid leading the horse with Dad.
No, he was Diego B something. Some kid named Dio. He's got some promise, so they are letting him work here as a hot walker.
Nicholas really is amazing. He controls such a huge horse perfectly. His control's no different than when he was riding that other horse. You're good at everything, Nicholas. Maybe I'm not your real brother? We don't look alike.
Listen, Johnny, you're still young. No matter what Dad says, when you get a little older, I'll teach you how to ride. I promise. Then we can ride around the world together, helping each other through hard times.
Huh?
Nicholas!
Nicholas!
A doctor! Someone call a doctor!
What happened?
Ah! What the hell just happened?
I saw a mouse scuttling near the horse's legs. It ran off into the woods. Black Rose was startled by a white mouse.
Oh God. Please, keep on breathing, please. Someone hurry up and get the doctor. Nicholas!
Hey, 'Cause I know you're here. 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 'Cause I know you're here.
What are you doing in here, Jonathan?
Oh, Father, you were home? Well, my riding boot. The bottom was falling off. I think the quality was bad, so I thought I could borrow one of these.
I see. But you must return those boots to the closet. That's Nicholas's closet, and those are Nicholas's riding boots.
Yes, I know that. But I don't have a pair of spare boots. Only this one. And my feet are the same size as what Nicholas used to be now.
Perhaps you didn't notice the hole in the bottom of your boots because you weren't taking care of them properly. That is your responsibility.
Yes, I see your point. But I have an important tournament today. I promise you that I'll win.
Win? That's strange. Winning means you'll be number 1. Dio won't be running in today's race. Even if you win, can that really be considered a victory? Don't get so cocky. You've never even beaten Dio, have you? Nicholas. He was far superior to someone like that Dio.
Please, I don't have time to find another pair. Please let me borrow these boots.
No! You have no right to use Nicholas's things. Put them back!
What? What is it, Dad? You're always talking about Nicholas this, Nicholas that. My brother died 7 years ago. I'm the one who's going to be in the race today. Please, please come watch my race today. I'll win for you.
Just put Nicholas's boots back in the closet, Jonathan.
No!
What?
These are just old boots. They're just objects. I'm going to enter today's race wearing these boots.
Are you going to insult your own brother? Give them to me. Stop. Let go.
Stop, just let go. Get the fuck off me! Father.
Oh, God. You took the wrong son.
What? Dad, what did you just say?
Get out. You're not welcome here anymore. Get out!
Fine. If you're going to be that way, I'm not going to trust anyone. I'll do fine on my own.
Johnny then leaves his father, his home, never to look back, only for a tiny white mouse to cross his eyes once more. The same mouse who he named Danny, the same mouse he was supposed to drown, the same one who caused his brother's accident. Johnny begins to realize that God had made a mistake, and instead of Nicholas dying, it should have been him. But what happens next really does make you wonder. Maybe, just maybe, it was better for Johnny to leave, that he'd made the right choice for himself, because he starts to actually win not only in horseback races but in life as well. He even tells us that he was invited to a millionaire's home and things, very, very hot things, happened to him. All of these things giving Johnny a boost of confidence, making him feel he can race his horse faster than anyone if he felt like it, his ego higher than ever, and with that fame coming from all sides, it's what anyone wants, what he wanted his life to be. But with glory and fame comes a price, and Johnny still had a debt to pay to fate. Fate is always watching him, looming over him, giving him everything until one day...
Ugh. Hey, the line's wrapped around the corner and stretches to the road over there. There are so many people, we can't wait to get in. Not today. Let's come back some other day.
What? But I want to see it! I want to see it say, there's a cute actress named Dorothy Parker in it. It's gonna be an era where beautiful actresses become works of art.
But is it worth standing in line?
Why do we have to stand in line? You're Johnny Joestar. You're famous, right? Is that spot open? Let's say it's open.
Huh? You think so? Maybe it is open.
The front of the line is, it starts, right here, you know.
I see.
I've been standing in line, since last night.
Oh, I see. Good for you. Well, take care.
Back of the line is over there. I was standing in line through the night.
Shut up! That's enough! Now you listen. I bought this spot. You wanna ask someone? Ask the guys at the theater.
Yeah!
Hey, you! I did buy this spot, didn't I? This guy looks like he wants to start something. Can you throw him out? Hey, how long until it starts?
It's about to open.
What? You again? You're a persistent bugger, aren't you? What's that?
Now we finally come full circle, and maybe you still don't like Johnny, but now there's an understanding as to why he is the person he is, and the life experiences he had that got him to where he is now. But the funny thing is, fate works in weird, mysterious ways, and lobs Johnny something new. It gives him a chance to regain hope, to try again one more time. All he needs to do is to look up at a man whose presence is grand and full of life. We don't know who he is or what his real goals are. All we know is that he's here to join the steelballrun race, the man who carved the circles in the mountain. His name is Gyro Zeppeli, the man who Johnny must follow and his reason to joining the steelballrun. Gyro Zeppeli is not only one of the best characters I've read in comics, but probably the best character Araki's ever written. And I don't say that lightly. When it comes to Gyro, he's the complete opposite of Johnny. And in some cases, one can make a strong argument that he's the actual main character of steelballrun. Where Johnny lacks any of the Joestar flair initially, Gyro brings all of those things to the table with full force, especially when it comes to his form of combat. And other than being a guy who loves his teddy and loves to make random jokes and sing a song about his favorite pizza, Gyro's form of combat is one of the most interesting fighting styles I've ever seen in a long time, and it comes with the idea of the spin. And to understand the spin, we have to go way back to the person who taught him the technique, Gyro's father, Gregorio Zeppeli. In the early years of Jojo, Hamon was the main technique that was being used by the main characters, which involved controlled breathing to either make things really hard like hair, a glass cup which because of Hamon can deflect lasers or bubble attacks. But in steelballrun, what was once Hamon has now completely changed to a brand new technique called the spin. Gregorio Zeppeli slowly training Gyro about this technique, his father being a man who is very strict and direct. Gregorio constantly teaching Gyro new core skills and values since Gyro is the eldest son in the family, and next in line to take his father's place as executioner for the city of Naples. The Zeppeli family fulfilling this duty for 380 years for their king, and during that time they developed what is called the rotation of the steel ball. But in order to actually be a master in using this, you have to start learning the fundamentals before you're 13, meaning you spend majority of your life and time learning everything about the human body down to its vital spots, anatomy, and the areas that can be cut without bones interfering. A technique which is only supposed to be used by the executioners themselves to help bring bodies to a state of stillness and peace, allowing for the execution to be an honorable one and done quickly with one swift of the sword. Gyro learning all of this by the time he's 24 years old, and by the time he and Johnny join the race and encounter different types of enemies, Gyro constantly uses his steel balls in many different ways. From being able to manipulate different muscle groups to execute a counterattack, inflicting actual damage with fastballs and curveball throws, making a sphere of water, or using the steel balls in a way where he can make after images by making a lens of air between him and his opponent. Gyro then also teaching Johnny the spin technique, which brings forth Johnny's own way of fighting, not only using his stand but also combining both the spin and his stand. Johnny being able to shoot his nail bullets at high speeds, or like his stand Tusk evolving every time he unlocks a new way to use the spin. But now the real question is, why is Gyro here? We know Johnny's reason for joining the race, but what is Gyro's? The answer itself starting when Gyro was 24 years old, and with the execution of a boy named Marco. Treason against the government was the worst crime of all, says the narrator. It was this era, the law of the state, Marco being witness to an assassination plot while shining shoes. This little boy, innocent to the evils of the world who doesn't know any better, was caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the law of this country says if silent about a plot of this magnitude, it would be punishable by execution, no matter if it were a woman or child. The only person willing to see a problem with this law being executioner Gyro Zeppeli, whose father by this point has grown old and tired, Gyro having 1 year left to officially take his father's place. Gyro then trying to explain to his father that he wants to fulfill his duty with consent, but to no avail, and his father scolding him that the Zeppeli family's only duty is to serve their king. The law is the law, and to never get involved with the details, fulfill your duty, that is all. Only for a man to approach Gyro and offer him a way to save the boy. That option being to join the steel ball run race, winning it and bringing great dignity to their country. In the end, people uniting their hearts and the king's amnesty to save Marco. Gyro riding his horse Valkyrie into the sunset, reaching San Diego where fate would have it.
Hey! You! What's with that steel ball? Let me see it one more time.
Hey, don't touch it! It's still spinning!
Ah! This story is the tale of me starting to walk. Not in the physical sense, but in an adolescence to adulthood sort of way. After meeting that man, Gyro Zeppeli, who's full of mysteries from beginning to end. My name is Johnny Joestar.
After Johnny and Gyro meet, what comes is the beginning of the adventure, the two encountering different hardships as they traverse the continent. The goal now not only to reach New York but to survive, the danger becoming more real and frightening. each encounter getting worse after the previous one. The only thing holding them together is their conviction, their determination leading the two onward in what is a literal battle with life itself, that determination being tested when they meet the man dressed in white. They call him Ringo Roadagain. As a child, Ringo was part of a family of 5. His mother, 2 sisters, himself, and his father. One day his father was sent to war and by some miracle he escaped with his life, only for Ringo's father to be found and imprisoned, and then later die of a disease. His family, now fatherless and forced to move across the country seeking a better life. We then find out that during Ringo's early years, he had an unknown disease which made his skin fragile, any minor thing putting his life at risk at all times. The only thing keeping him alive was the care of the family he had around him, his mother and 2 sisters, until one night that was all taken away from him. Ringo wakes up to find his family lying lifeless on the floor, the light in their eyes taken away, the culprit being a man who had broken into their house that very night. And I can't go into huge details as to what happens because of YouTube reasons, but I'll end this backstory letting you know that Ringo survived that night through his own will. A newfound path had shown itself to him, his eyes filled with power and his skin miraculously flushed. From that day, he never suffered any cuts or difficulty breathing. The new path, the wall one must surpass, is what he called the true man's world. This was his philosophy, his reason to keep going. This is Ringo Roadagain. Johnny and Gyro forever changed from their encounter with this man, this confrontation starting when Johnny and Gyro enter an orchard on their way to Kansas City, during that time in which they meet another racer by the name of Hot Pants, which at first you may think is a girl, but Johnny and Gyro refer to her as a he. It's a whole thing that does have a definitive answer later, believe me. But when they do meet Hot Pants and after having a little scuffle for cow meat, things become strange when they try to leave the orchard to return to the race. The 3 realizing that every time they try to go in their separate ways, they keep coming back to where they first met each other. It later becomes clear to them that someone is causing them to go in circles, and their goal being not allowing them to leave the orchard. The culprit, as we find out, being Ringo Roadagain, who then proceeds to give a proposition to the 3 racers. If you want to get out of here, then you must kill me. Gyro, Johnny, and Hot Pants, the 3 agreeing to that proposition, and coming up with a plan to take Ringo out of the equation. But as they come to find out, it's not that simple. Ringo then giving his second proposition, telling the 3 if they want to converse with him, it would have to be one at a time. But of course, Gyro doesn't take that and starts to get irritated and wants to know who is Ringo and what's his end goal. Ringo telling Gyro in a deep and calm demeanor, allowing us to know how calculating this man is with every decision he makes. If we were to engage in a shootout, of course, you would not be able to defeat me. But the man on the left has a dark determination. He would kill me without hesitation. You are not the same. It's your nature. That is my reason. The man on the left being Johnny. And with Gyro now furious with Ringo's words, he strikes at Ringo with his steel ball, Ringo accepting the challenge, firing his revolver, as we then see time itself turn back 6 seconds. Ringo again in a calm fashion revealing his power, telling the 3 racers how he's incomplete as a human being and that a fair fight devoid of pettiness and filled with dark intentions will allow him to surpass that wall. That wall which he refers to as the true man's world. While we see Johnny filled with fire in his eyes, the dark determination in his soul attack Ringo, but his efforts are also of no use. Ringo using his skill as a gunslinger to take out Gyro as well. Their first encounter ending Hot Pants half dead, Gyro injured and has no clue if his friend is alive or not. The same fire now filling Gyro's eyes, now realizing he must endure this. But a voice from up on high, a voice familiar to Gyro, his father's voice, Gyro remembering his father's words telling him that he should walk away from all of this, that he should not get involved in trying to save his friend in saving Marco. This steel ball is not to be used for combat, his ideals and stubbornness will be his downfall. Gyro looks up, his face of a man who despite his father's words is even more determined to see this through. His path to understanding why Marco has to be executed, his path to understanding being the only way to move forward, to see the future, the sensation of victory rising within him, and an aura so loud that it breaks the silence of the orchard. Now Gyro and Ringo are face to face once more. Ringo noticing that Gyro has changed, but there's still a part of him that is holding him back. Gyro telling him that's not for him or anyone to decide, with the two engaging in one of the best confrontations in the entirety of Jojo. The two men determined to kill one another. Who is faster, the gun or the steel ball? Ringo doing anything at his disposal to surpass Gyro, while Gyro does the same, but in the end there's only one victor.
And that's why you are a conformist. Find the path of light, the shining path that one must tread. There are societal values, and also a true man's values. They used to be synonymous in the past, but currently, the two are not one and the same. The man and society are completely different ideals now. But the true road to victory requires the embracing of the true man's values, and you should be able to see it by now. Continue the race, and find out for yourself the path of light. That is what I will pray for, and I thank you. Welcome to the true man's world.
Chapter 35 of SBR is still the chapter I go back to again and again. It's not only because it's a great fight, or just amazing how Araki created a side villain who shows up in 3 chapters and has a lasting impact than most villains do in an entire arc, but because this was the moment I fell in love with SBR. It was the moment where I realized that this journey for these two goofballs was gonna be the hardest thing they've ever faced in their lives. But also because they're able to rest on one another's shoulder, because they have hope in their hearts to see the next day, despite the harsh winters, the rainy days, the days where they were uncertain if they'd even reach the other side. It meant something because they faced those hardships together. The hardships we face in our darkest moments only pushing us further to find some sort of control in our lives. And what's amazing is that growth, that message rings true throughout steelballrun's characters. From Hot Pants trying to correct past mistakes, Dio looking for a way to overcome those who took his mother, his world away from him, Axel Rose trying to come to terms with his own guilt for not doing more, Poco Loco trying to risk his life just so he could come back and give the people he loves a better life, or those who confide on others just to give their life meaning. Each one of these characters trying to surpass that wall that we all face, the true man's world, only in the end for us to find the path of light that we all pray for. This is what steelballrun is. Thanks for watching. Oh right, I almost forgot. There is a man who hides in the shadows during the steelballrun race. The man who thinks Jesus will be his savior. the man who was inspired by the movie Independence Day, that man being the President of the United States of America. The first time that I heard that at one point in Jojo the main villain would be the president and he's just Donald Trump and it shows, I was completely on board and was not disappointed. This man, Funny Valentine, became my favorite villain, surpassing for me the Joker and Griffith. And it takes a lot of work to dethrone those people, but trust me when I say Funny Valentine does. His goal consisting of gathering the corpse of Jesus Christ, and in order to facilitate that, he helps with the funding of the steelballrun race, in hopes for the racers in the race to come in contact with the corpse and then taking it from them. Funny Valentine believing that if the entire corpse becomes whole, it would allow for him to reach his goal. A goal not about obtaining power nor controlling someone. It is, as he says, for the greater good of his country. Anyone who obtains the corpse not only obtaining the power of a stand but also experiencing great fortune or happiness. His goal to make America the greatest nation on earth. Taking any action to realize that dream no matter how many casualties happen in the process. Valentine viewing his actions of those as acts of justice rather than the opposite. But what elevates his character even more than his motivations and desires, it's when his views and ideals are pitted against Johnny Joestar. Araki himself saying that Valentine's mission can be considered more righteous than our protagonist, since he doesn't seek anything for himself unlike Johnny who wants the corpse to be able to walk again. He does it for the greater good of his people, and it's that sense of patriotism that is ingrained into Valentine by his father from a young age, making him believe deep down within his heart that patriotism is the most beautiful virtue in this world. A nobility of humanity, this driving Valentine to grow and become the man he is today. However, don't let that fool you, this is the same man who is still evil and yet his goal can be argued as one that is morally correct. But it's in that allows for the greatest and really complex final conversation between a protagonist and antagonist in any comic I've ever read. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Funny Valentine. And I can sit here and talk about how calculating of a villain he is, or how his charisma reaches bounds that rivals even someone like Dio, or his stand ability which brings to the table one of the most confusing arcs in manga, but I won't, because I'll be robbing you of the greatest fight in manga, and the journey of the best villain in comics to me. And maybe you won't believe me, but the only way for you to find out is to actually read the story. The choice is yours, person who is watching this video. Which begs the question, why should you care to put any effort in reading steelballrun? Well, because steelballrun is the sum total of what I love about stories. It's a journey our main characters go on, and during that time learning to grow with one another, learning new things about who they are but also the world around them. It's understanding that you will fuck up in this life, but it doesn't have to be the end of all things if you're willing to stand back up and try again. And it will get hard, and there will be people in your way, but you keep going, and in the end, if you don't attain what you want, the echoes of your efforts will be heard, and one day you can come home, look back, and realize it truly has been a roundabout path.